Lagos, the city of restless tides, where dreams glitter like neon at night and betrayals hide in alleys darker than midnight. Here, fortunes rise and fall as quickly as the downfall buses screeching through Ojulegba. Here, the rich build fences so high they forget the smell of street dust, while the poor carry tomorrow's burdens on their backs like firewood. It was in this city, brash, unforgiving, yet filled with heartbeat, that two children once met beneath the shade of an old almond tree. One was born into a kingdom of marble floors and servants who spoke in whispers. The other, into tin-roofed chaos where the rain leaked but laughter refused to die. Their story would not be simple. It would be love, but also betrayal. Sweetness, but also venom. They would know the taste of kisses stolen at twilight and the sting of secrets sold in darkness. For Lagos teaches that love alone is not enough. It demands sacrifice. And even then, it rarely allows lovers the ending they dream of. But still, there are moments, fleeting, eternal, when two souls collide, leaving an imprint the city itself remembers. This is the story of Oniku, daughter of Chief Adebayo, and Taiwo, son of no name. If you are joining us for the first time, please subscribe, and don't forget to like and share so it reaches others who might benefit from stories like this. The almond tree by the lagoon had stood for generations, its branches stretching like an elder's arms, wide enough to cradle secrets and shade the weary. Beneath it, one humid afternoon, Oniku sat cross-legged on a blanket, a storybook in her hands. Her world smelled of hibiscus tea and imported perfumes, but she loved this place for its silence. That was when Taiwo stumbled out from the dirt path, barefoot, his shirt clinging to his skin with sweat. He had been chasing a stray ball, one patch so many times it looked older than him. When he saw her, he froze, a girl in a dress too fine for the dust, her braids tied with red ribbons. "You dey read book for here?" he asked in awe, his Yoruba tinted with the rough edges of Ajigona. Oniku looked up, startled, then smiled. "Ewan iten en boloti inuri. Stories live here." That was the beginning. From that afternoon, the almond tree became their meeting place. Oniku came with books, her world filled with fairy tales, English novels, and Yoruba folktales her grandmother had told her. Taiwo came with stories of the street, football games that stretched into the night, the taste of puff-puff fried by women at the corner, and the wisdom of men who played ale under broken streetlights. At first, their worlds seemed too far apart. She lived in a koi, where drivers waited in polished cars to carry her home. He lived in Ajigona, where gutters overflowed whenever the rain came. Yet, under that tree, the distance melted. One day, Oniku asked him, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Taiwo scratched his head. "Engineer. I want to build bridges, roads, things we can touch. Not just a dream." She tilted her head. "I want to be a storyteller. To write books." He laughed. "Then one day, you go write about me." She smiled. "One day, maybe." The almond leaves rustled, as if they too were listening. Years passed, and the almond tree grew into a cathedral for their youth. When Oniku turned 12, her father sent her to Queen's College. She hated the hostel food, the strict matrons, the way the other girls whispered about her father's money. Yet on weekends, when she returned home, she always found time to slip away to the tree. Taiwo, meanwhile, juggled school with hawking bottled water on the streets. His uniform was second-hand, his books tattered, but his mind was sharp. He told Oniku of his teachers, of how numbers spoke to him. Sometimes, he brought her roasted corn. Other times, she smuggled pastries from her mother's kitchen for him. Each gift was small, but carried the weight of their friendship. The Yoruba say, "Ori to do, ki aiboya lailai." A good friendship never spoils. And theirs, against all odds, only grew stronger. Teenage years came like a storm. Aniku blossomed into a young woman, tall, graceful, with skin like polished bronze. Boys at school noticed her, whispered her name in corridors. But she thought only of the boy by the almond tree. Taiwo too changed. His shoulders broadened, his voice deepened, his smile carried a new confidence. Girls in his neighborhood admired him, but his eyes sought only one face. One humid evening, as the sky turned orange over the lagoon, their friendship slipped into something more. Aniku had been crying, her parents were fighting again, her mother accusing her father of betrayal. Taiwo wiped her tears with careless fingers. Their eyes locked. And suddenly, without words, their lips touched. It was clumsy, breathless, filled with the taste of roasted corn and sweet perfume. But it was also perfect. From that day, the almond tree no longer sheltered just two friends. It held two young lovers. Love in Lagos is never simple. Rumors began to swirl. Servants whispered of the rich man's daughter always sneaking out. In Ajigonal, neighbors joked that Taiwo had captured a princess. One night, Oniku's father confronted her. "Who is this boy?" Chief Adibeo's voice thundered. "He is my friend," she whispered. "You lie. He is beneath you. Do you want to disgrace this family?" Her father's rage was not just pride. It was fear. He had built his empire on connections, reputation, and alliances. His daughter could not be seen with a boy who owned nothing. But Oniku, trembling, whispered the words that would mark her path. "I love him." Chief Adibeo's hand slammed the table. Love does not feed a family. Love does not buy respect. Remember that. The pressure grew. Chief Adibeo hired tutors, filled Oniku's schedule, anything to keep her from sneaking away. But the heart is stubborn. Oniku and Taiwo found ways. Hidden notes passed through drivers. Midnight meetings by the lagoon. Even when separated, they lived for the stolen moments when their eyes could meet again. Yet, cracks began to show. One evening, Taiwo confessed, "Sometimes I feel small beside you. Like I will never be enough." Oniku held his hands. "Ibiaepe eki aemo I omiti adigon nje, biekeo bofai gogbo owowe inuri." You cannot know the depth of a lagoon unless you enter with both hands. You are my depth, Taiwo. Enough for me. Her words soothed him, for a while. Then came betrayal. It was a party in Ikoyi, one of those grand gatherings where musicians played under chandeliers and politicians laughed over champagne. Oniku was there with her family. Taiwo came too, not as a guest, but as a waiter hired for the evening. When he saw her in her glittering dress, arm locked with the son of a senator, his chest burned. Later, he cornered her under the almond tree. "Who was he?" "My father's guest." "And you smiled at him like..." "I was pretending." But jealousy is a fire that logic cannot quench. Their first real fight ended with silence. Weeks turned into months. The city moved on. But love wounded does not heal easily. Oniku tried to reach out. Taiwo withdrew, burying himself in studies and menial jobs. He began to see the world differently. Ambition took root where innocence once grew. Still, fate had its own plans. They both gained admission to the University of Lagos. Different faculties, different words again, but the same city, the same yearning. The almond tree still waited for them. At university, their love rekindled. They walked by the lagoon, studied in the library, dreamed of futures where class and family would not matter. Taiwo excelled in engineering, winning scholarships. Oniku charmed her professors with essays that carried the rhythm of Yoruba proverbs. For a while, it seemed destiny had bent in their favor. But Lagos is a city that tests lovers. And soon, whispers of blackmail, secrets, and betrayal would creep back into their lives. It began with a photograph. A blurry image of Oniku and Taiwo kissing by the lagoon surfaced. Someone slid it under Chief Adebayo's office door. That night, the mansion erupted with fury. "You will end this," her father roared. "No," Oniku whispered. "Then I will end him." And just like that, the weight of power fell on Taiwo's shoulders. A poor boy could fight the streets, could fight hunger, but could he fight a billionaire's wrath? The almond tree shivered in the night wind. It knew a storm was coming. The threats from Chief Adebayo shook Taiwo's world. He began to receive strange calls, anonymous warnings to stay away from Oniku. He resisted at first, but one evening, a gang of hired boys cornered him in Suraleh, beating him till he could barely walk. Message delivered. Oniku discovered what her father had done. Their arguments grew violent, with her screaming, "You cannot buy my heart like your contracts." But her father's eyes were still. "I built this family with sweat and enemies' blood. You will not ruin it for a boy from the gutter." Despite everything, Oniku and Taiwo clung to each other. They met secretly, writing love letters in coded Yoruba proverbs, "Okanti obofe ki awen iyikeo era wonjo, ki aifa epiesotu." A heart that wants birds together does not scatter its wings. Yet each meeting carried fear, for the shadows seemed to watch them. Blackmail entered their story. A faceless figure began demanding money from Oniku, threatening to release more photos and rumors to tabloids. She knew it was linked to her father's political rivals, who saw her affair as a weapon. Taiwo begged to help, but she refused. She would not drag him deeper into her family's dangerous world. At Unilag, Taiwo's brilliance shone. He won a major engineering competition, drawing the attention of a multinational company. Slowly, doors began to open for him. But with success came pride, and pride often poisons love. He started to ask himself, did Oniku love him for who he was, or for what he was becoming? A moment of weakness changed everything. At a student party, after too much palm wine, Taiwo kissed another girl, Bisola, a fiery law student. Someone captured it on video. Within days, it reached Oniku. The pain nearly broke her. For the first time, she doubted their future. The lovers drifted apart. Oniku buried herself in writing and student activism, fighting for girls' education. Taiwo chased his career, interning with construction firms. Yet, no matter how far they went, the almond tree haunted their memories, a symbol of a love too deep to fully kill. Years rolled on. Graduation came with pomp. Oniku received offers to study abroad, while Taiwo secured a job with an international firm in Lagos. Their paths diverged, yet destiny continued to tug at invisible strings. Tragedy struck. Oniku's mother died suddenly of a heart attack. Grief softened Chief Adebayo for a while, but it also hardened his resolve to control his daughter's future. He promised her hand in marriage to a wealthy associate son, believing this alliance would strengthen his empire. Meanwhile, Taiwo was climbing fast. With discipline, grit, and talent, he became a rising star in the engineering world, even featured in The Guardian. Yet behind the success, he carried a quiet emptiness, the space where Oniku once lived. Their love was not dead. Only waiting. But Lagos was not done testing them. Lagos had changed, and so had they. Oniku returned from her master's program in London more radiant than ever, her words sharper, her spirit stronger. She had blossomed into a woman who carried her mother's quiet dignity and her own fiery independence. Taiwo, meanwhile, was no longer the boy from Ajigona. He wore tailored suits now, his name on the lips of investors, his engineering firm bidding for contracts that once belonged only to men like Chief Adebayo. But fate, cunning as a fox, brought them together once more. It was at an economic summit on Victoria Island. Oniku was moderating a panel on Nigeria's infrastructure and the future. Taiwo walked onto the stage as one of the speakers. Their eyes met under the floodlights. For a heartbeat, the almond tree stood between them again. The audience clapped. Neither could breathe. That night, she called him. The number was different, the voice the same. Taiwo. Oniku. They spoke like no years had passed. Their laughter was softer, their silences heavier. They met for coffee in Lekki, then for dinner in Ikoyi, then for long drives where the lagoon whispered memories to them. And slowly, like embers catching fire, love returned. But this was not the innocent love of teenagers. It was deeper, weighted with scars. Still, the world had not forgotten their story. Shadows still followed them. Chief Adebayo was furious. So after all these years, you still crawl back to him. Oniku stood tall. I am no longer your little girl, Daddy. I am a woman. I choose whom I love. But the chief had grown even more ruthless. Political ambitions tied him to powerful men who demanded loyalty, alliances, and marriages. To him, love was still a luxury the wealthy could not afford. And so, he plotted again. This time, the weapon was not fist or hired boys. It was money. A scandal broke out, whispers that Taiwo's company had bribed officials to win a government contract. Documents circulated online, painting him as corrupt. Investors withdrew, deals collapsed, and newspapers carried his name with shame. Taiwo knew it was the chief's doing. But proving it was like trying to hold water in bare hands. For weeks, he spiraled, anger, despair, near ruin. Only Oniku's steady presence kept him from falling completely. Do not let them bury you, she told him one night. Ori buruku obodu soni di eru. A bad destiny must not enslave a person. Her fate lit his path. With grit, Taiwo fought back. He gathered his true partners, exposed the fake documents, and revealed how his competitors had colluded with politicians. The scandal turned. Newspapers now praised him as a fighter against corruption. His company rose again, stronger than before. But just as triumph returned, another storm came. Oniku discovered she was pregnant. The news filled her with both joy and dread. She told Taiwo under the almond tree, yes, the same tree still stood, older, taller, scarred like them. His eyes widened, his smile trembled. This is our future, Anaik. But she whispered, my father will never allow it. He will destroy you, destroy us. They held each other, trembling, knowing that the child inside her was both blessing and curse. The secret could not stay hidden. Chief Adebayo learned of the pregnancy. His rage was volcanic. He stormed into her apartment, veins bulging. You will end this nonsense. You will not have his child. But Oniku, with tears streaming, stood her ground. Baba, my womb is not your empire to trade. It was the first time she truly broke free. Weeks later, tragedy struck again. Oniku miscarried. The hospital smelled of antiseptic, and the corridors echoed with muted footsteps. Taiwo held her hand as she wept, his own tears falling silently. The almond tree seemed to bow its branches in mourning. That loss carved something permanent between them, not anger, not blame, but the heavy knowledge that some dreams would never bloom. Time moved on. Slowly, painfully, both began to rebuild their lives. Taiwo threw himself deeper into his work. His firm expanded, taking projects across West Africa. He became the man he had always dreamed of, respected, wealthy, powerful. Oniku published her first book, a collection of essays and stories weaving Yoruba proverbs into modern life. It won awards, her voice becoming one of Nigeria's most celebrated. Their paths crossed still, often, but each time they met, they carried the quiet sadness of roads that run side by side yet never merge. One day, beneath the almond tree, they met again. Older now, wiser, their laughter tinged with nostalgia. I used to think we would end here, Oniku said softly. Taiwo smiled faintly. Maybe we did. Just not the way we imagined. They held hands for the last time, not as lovers, but as souls forever bound by memory. In the years that followed, life carried them forward. Oniku married a kind-hearted doctor she met through her activism work. Their home was filled with books, children, and quiet joy. Taiwo too found love again, with Bisola, the fiery law student who once kissed him at a party. She became his anchor, his equal, his partner in business and life. Both were happy. Different families, different homes, yet their story was never erased. At the unveiling of a new bridge in Lagos, a project led by Taiwo's firm, two families stood in the crowd. Oniku with her husband and children. Taiwo with his wife and theirs. Their eyes met across the sea of faces. For a moment, the city noise faded, and the almond tree rose in their minds once more. They smiled, not with regret, but with gratitude. Some loves are not meant to end in marriage. Some are meant to shape, to teach, to transform. And theirs had done all three. The almond tree still stands, roots deep in Lagos soil, branches stretched toward the sky. Children now play beneath it, unaware of the love, betrayal, and dreams it once sheltered. Sometimes, when the wind blows just right, one might hear laughter in the rustling leaves, or the faint whisper of a Yoruba proverb. Ohun ti ebofe, ki ij titila. Ohun ti eboni, lo endowolora. What we desire does not last forever. What we have is what gives us peace. And so, Oniku and Taiwo lived not as one, but as two, yet forever joined in the story of Lagos, and in the heartbeat of those who believe that love, even unfinished, is never wasted. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and share it so that it reaches others who may benefit from it. If you are new, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to get our stories. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next story dropping soon.